Okay, let's talk some more Harry Potter. So this video is going to be focused on the chapters Diagon Alley and Journey from Platform 9 3/4. Now what I'm going to do is split this video into about 3 parts, 2 bigger parts, and then a couple questions at the end that I have. The first section is going to be about waking up in the Wizarding World. The second will be a bit of a comparison between Ron and Draco. And then the third, like I said, is just a few questions towards the end that I ended up having that I haven't figured out answers for yet. So maybe you'll have some ideas and might be able to help me along in the right direction. Okay, so first we have waking up to the Wizarding World. And these are the 2 chapters that Harry really starts to get his teeth into this world that he's actually now a part of. Sure, when we had Hagrid show up, it was suddenly, you're a wizard, Harry, and you've done magic before, and owls, and things like that. But it hasn't been as obvious up to this point, sort of exactly what he's getting himself into. And then bam, Diagon Alley, and he's just... Except he's not. J.K. Rowling does this beautifully. Even though Harry has had his very first introduction, she doesn't throw him into this world without any guidance, nor does she write him as completely understanding of this world. Like, he doesn't just show up in Diagon Alley knowing what bricks to hit and what shops to go to. He's overwhelmed. He's trying to look everywhere. So what you actually get is, while it appears to be this sudden boom, and there's the Wizarding World, it's actually quite a few baby steps, because he has Hagrid there to help him and guide him. It's Hagrid that's sort of pulling him back when he wants to get Jinxes to use on Dudley and wants to get a golden cauldron. Hagrid's there to slow him down, but also again to introduce him to other things. Hagrid gets him ice cream. Well, again, this is something that Harry's probably familiar with, but that's a very comforting thing. This isn't a completely strange world. Hagrid gets him Hedwig. Well, here again, we're getting something that is strange, but it's packaged in a way that Harry could recognize, though not completely personally. It's his birthday present. It's the first real birthday present he's gotten, but he understands the concept of birthday presents. Then we get Platform 9 3/4. And again, here Harry doesn't know what's going on. It hasn't been explained to him until the Weasleys come along and then explain it to him, and even then he has doubts. He's afraid he's gonna smash into the barrier. So he closes his eyes and just runs for it. And again, you get the familiar yet unfamiliar in the Hogwarts Express. It's a bright red steam train. Like, really, Dursley makes a joke about this, about magic carpets having punctures and everything. But what this acts as is a border divide between the Muggle world and the magic world that Harry then crosses. It's something he can recognize, but it's also not completely familiar to him. It also gives a really good connection to all types of wizard students. Whether you're Muggle-born, half-blood, or pure-blood, you're all riding this train. So you're going through steps up into the Wizarding World before you get to Hogwarts and are completely immersed. And this is a really smart way of doing it. It shows that your character doesn't know what's fully going on, but gives him a chance to adjust so he's not completely out of his mind when you actually fully throw him into the world. Part 2, Ron and Draco. At the beginning of this book, they are actually intensely alike. Now, hear me out. Both of them have their prejudices. Draco, obviously, against Muggles, Muggle-borns, and blood traitors. Ron, against purebloods, probably because he's considered a blood traitor. they both follow certain traditions. For example, throwing out the squibs. You might not see this with Ron, but one of the first lines he has when he's talking about it is, my mom has someone related to her that's an accountant, but we don't talk about him that much. Like, sorry, but Ron is still open to the prejudices of the wizarding community. They both have this introduction to Harry, and they both biased him, or attempt to at least bias him towards a certain house. Ron towards Gryffindor, and Draco towards Slytherin. But, and here is the big difference. Harry goes with Ron, and not with Draco. Draco tells him that he might get involved with the wrong sort. And Harry says that he could tell the wrong sort for himself, and ends up choosing Ron over Draco. So that becomes the question. Why Ron over Draco? Again, they have these prejudices, and some of them are even the same prejudices. So why Ron? Well, I think I figured at least part of it out. Ron and Harry have a lot more from the get-go of a sharing relationship than Draco and Harry do. When Draco and Harry first meet, the conversation is fully one-sided. Draco just talks. Harry makes noises, feeling less and less like he knows what's going on. But again, this is similar to the first conversation he has with Ron. He still doesn't know what's going on. But Ron is at least willing to let Harry join in the conversation. Harry responds to this by relating to him through issues of poverty, not having money, and then later, not having many friends. For example, when he ends up buying sweets, he shares them. And he knows not to try and give them to him, like, right off the bat, just flat, here, have some snacks. What he does is he attempts a sharing relationship. He offers to trade some of the treats for some of Ron's sandwiches. Now, Ron recognizes this, of course, but he responds in a positive manner. See, while Ron and Draco have the same biases, Ron is willing to at least talk things out. And while we're not talking things about the biases out, it's more than what Draco's willing to do. So that sharing relationship is really, I think, what pushes Harry towards the right sort of people. Okay, and part 3, a ton of questions. When Harry and Hagrid are leaving the shack on the ocean, Harry notices that there's only the boat that the Dursleys took up, and he asks Hagrid how he got there, and Hagrid says, I flew. Like on a broom? Or like that weird fly by himself thing that Voldemort seems to be able to do, like in the last book and last 2 movies. Or the motorcycle. That's never really explained. When they get to the Leaky Cauldron, Harry is then noticed and ends up shaking hands with a bunch of people. And in this, he's also introduced to Quirrell, who in the movie, Harry reaches out a hand and Quirrell just sort of like, In the book, it's noted that Quirrell shakes his hand. How? Or is, like, the mother's magic only active in Harry when he's, like, immediately in physical harm's way? Because shouldn't that have burned? Okay, Hagrid tells Harry that there wasn't a wizard who went bad who wasn't in Slytherin. What about Sirius Black? I mean, at this point in time, everyone considers Sirius like Voldemort's second in command. But wasn't he in Gryffindor? Or is this just literally a bias that's coming out? And it's just like, well, there was Sirius, but he doesn't matter. He should have been in Slytherin. He somehow tricked the Sorting Hat. Which is then funny because what does Harry do but beg out of Slytherin and get into Gryffindor? So, And finally, why does Ron get to bring a rat? To school, I mean. Because the letter specifically said that students are allowed one pet. They may bring a toad or a cat or an owl. Rat, nowhere written in there. So, what makes Wormtail so good? Allowable. Good is a bad word on that one. Allowable. Yeah, since we're going to end off with that one, I guess I'll end off with the question for you guys. Toad or cat or rat or owl? Yeah, we're throwing the rat in there because since he's apparently allowed, so toad, cat, rat, or owl.